Welcome back. Today, we're going to look at the age of exploration, which covers a couple of things that I love to go over. One, it proves one of my many themes of history, which is that women tend to be smarter than men. And two, it proves that everywhere Europe went got worse. And we're going to start by looking at the age of exploration. But before we do that, I'm going to need you to find a piece of paper. It can be printer paper, notebook paper, construction paper, tissue paper if you don't think you're going to rip it when you write on it. But you're going to take that paper, you're going to fold it in half like this. What you're going to end up having, once you cut it, is I want you to have 3 flaps. And across the top, you'll write age of exploration. And we're going to look at 3 countries today who had explorers do major things in the age of exploration. And this is how you're going to take notes. But on the front, you're going to write Portugal, Spain, France. And then research and draw the flags to the best of your ability. It doesn't have to be perfect. Of those 3 countries on the front. And then on the inside, you'll use the notes from today's PowerPoint to fill it in. Now, we're going to look at the age of exploration, which again is what I like to point out is when Europe went around, found places and made them all worse. But it's a time period when Europeans began to explore the rest of the world. They were able to do this through the improvements in map making, better ships. It just made navigation as a whole easier to do. And this is like major sailing. They're going across huge oceans over very, very far distances. But this idea of mercantilism, which is when money equals power. The more money you have, the stronger you are. The more money a country has, the better that country is over this one. And so as exploration starts, mercantilism and this drive and this desire to have more money than other European countries kicks in. And that's what pushes and motivates exploration. And the motives for exploration are what I call the 3 Gs. It's the easiest way to do it. God. You have a lot of people that are like, I got to explore because all of these people in these untapped lands have never heard of Christianity and they need it. And so they use religion as a reason to go to all these other countries and to conquer these regions. Glory, the opportunity to get famous. Everybody wants to be famous. Well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people want to be famous. And so they're like, I want people to read about me in history books. Although nobody really reads history books, but you get the point. And then the last one is gold, money. Everything in history revolves around money. This is a theme that you'll see or hear me come back to over and over and over and over again. Money drives most, if not all, decisions throughout history. Money has a way of finding its way into decision making. And so these 3 Gs, if you remember the 3 Gs, God, glory, and gold, you can remember the 3 motives or reasons for exploration. So now, going back to our foldable, we're going to look at Portugal and the explorers that come out of Portugal. Bartholomew Diaz is the first. Bartholomew Diaz sails around the Cape of Good Hope and the southern tip of Africa. He's the one that realizes, hey, look, we can go around this giant continent. Why it takes people so long to realize that Africa doesn't just end, I don't know. But he sails around the southern tip of Africa and finds the Indian Ocean. This is the ocean that connects to India. And so he finds this route and realizes that, hey, we can trade with India by boat, which is helpful in multiple ways. One, it's not as dangerous. You don't have as many opportunities to get jumped and have all your stuff stolen from you. Because everyone knows if you're a European and you're traveling by camel or whatever to India, you're going to go get stuff. You're going to go get spices and goods and resources. And so on your way back, these people know eventually you got to come back. And so they sit and they wait for you. And then, bam, like a tiger, they pounce, they take all your stuff, probably killed you and killed a bunch of explorers in the process. But either way, Diaz finds a way to do it by sailing, which ends up being faster and less dangerous. And you see it right here. He finds this path and he realizes, hey, Africa has a bottom. And, he sails back. Vasco de Gama continues that route. He continues that route and realizes you can do this and land in India. And he develops the trade routes that would be used between Europe and India for years after the fact. Years after the fact. And so you see, he just takes the same route and just continues it. And then he goes back. And then he becomes one of the first explorers to continue to just back and forth, showing the value that can be had in these voyages. He makes 10 times the amount that it cost him to leave. So for the sake of easy math, let's say he needed $500,000. If he needed $500,000 to fund his trip, right? And I don't know exactly how much it was, but let's say he needed $500,000 to fund his trip. He made 10 times that when he got back to Europe. 10 times 500,000, you just add a zero. That's right. He made $5 million. So if you subtract the $500,000 that it cost him to begin with, he made $4.5 million in this hypothetical situation. But you can see he's making large amounts of money, regardless of how much the amounts were, every time he makes this voyage. And so other people are like, whoa, I'm going to make 10 times. And so they all start getting involved. And again, this idea of mercantilism and this idea of having more money than the other drives this idea. Ferdinand Magellan is next. Ferdinand Magellan is the first person to sail all the way around the world. Correction. His crew is the first group to sail all the way around the world. Which had to be a horrifying concept for some people on his boat who believed that the earth was flat and they would just fall off. But he gets a crew together, they sail all the way around. He proves for certain that the world is round. Ferdinand Magellan did this during the age of exploration. There are still people today that believe the earth is flat. I don't know why that is, but they do. But he's able to prove. He dies in the process. He gets murdered in the Philippines. He just steps off the boat. They're like, whoa, who are you? Stab, stab. He's dead. But his crew makes it back. His crew gets all the way back to Spain. Thus, he's still given credit as the leader or the person who put that crew together for the first person to circumnavigate the globe, which is really just to go around the world. Sail around the world. And he starts in Spain, goes around the southern tip of South America, ends up over here, lands in the Philippines, stabbed to death. The crew continues back to Spain. Obviously, this is after Columbus because now the New World has been found. We're not doing this in chronological. We're doing it by country that was involved. Magellan, again, looks out, decides he's going to sail, lands in the Philippines, murdered. Country number 2, Spain. Spain gets involved in exploration because Spain can't stand watching their younger sibling be successful. Portugal is like Spain's younger brother or sister. And Spain is watching with just jealousy. They're just so jealous that their younger sibling is making more money than them now. And the way that I know how to explain this, I have a younger sister and a younger brother. And those of you with younger siblings should understand this scenario. Younger sibling, you ever been with your younger sibling and they did something and you just know they about to get in trouble. They're about to get in all kinds of trouble, right? And it's fantastic. And you can't wait for mom or dad to get home because you know, ooh, you about to get it. It's going to be great, right? So you're waiting. You're just like waiting all day, just looking out the window, waiting for mom and dad to get home because you know your sibling about to get it. They about to get in trouble. You can't wait. You're excited, right? And I'm going to come back. I'm going to make it full circle. Mom pulls up. You're like, yes, mom's home. You about to get in trouble. I'm going to hide in the closet so that I can watch you get whooped, right? So he come, mom walks in. Whatever happened gets found out. Your youngest sibling is caught. They're in trouble. You're starting to get giddy with excitement at this point. You know, those of us that are older siblings know. Is it okay? Probably not. Is it what happens? Yes. I used to love it when my younger siblings got in trouble. And so, mainly because I was always in trouble. So when they got in trouble, it was different. But now you're watching. You remember when you did this, you got in all kinds of trouble. Now it's their turn to get in trouble, and you can't wait. And you're watching, and then mom hits the younger sibling with the, you know what, it'll be all right. And then you get so mad because you start to flash back to when you did the exact same thing, and she like punched you in your chest. Yeah, that jealousy of, wait a minute, why are they getting treated better than me just because they're younger? That's not fair. That jealousy is the type of jealousy that Spain has for Portugal, which they view as a younger sibling. They should be the ones that are getting this recognition and this praise, and because they're bigger. So Spain gets involved in the Age of Exploration, starting with Christopher Columbus. Columbus proves many of my points. Columbus is an idiot. Columbus is an idiot. Columbus had been to India. He'd heard of India. He knew what India looked like. He knew what it sounded like, smelled like. He had been there. He knew what it felt like in India. Columbus makes the greatest mistake in the history of history ever. The number one greatest mistake of all time when he finds the New World. Christopher Columbus is also probably the greatest mass murderer in the history of ever. But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. Shh. No, Columbus found America. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. It's not exactly how it happened. Columbus gets on his boat and he's like, hey, we can get to India. He asked multiple times. Many people are like, no, you can't. They're not willing to fund it. Finally, the king and queen of Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella, they give him the money that he needs so that he can sail that way to India. And he gets on his boat and he's sailing. And he's sailing across and he gets there and he lands. And India, mind you, is a desert. There's a bunch of people. It's hot. There's no trees. Columbus steps off a boat in an area that's not that hot. There's a bunch of trees there and there's not a lot of people. And goes, India! Finally, the reason we call Native Americans Indians is because Christopher Columbus is a dummy. This guy's an Indian. He was nowhere near India. He was in what we call America now. And despite the fact that he had been there before, truly believed that he was there. This goes to one of our other themes of history, that women tend to be smarter than men. It only would have taken one woman to be on Columbus' ship and be like, no, this ain't right. Some of y'all know. Some of y'all know. Your dad, uncle, grandpa, if somebody been driving, they're like, oh, I think we're almost there. And auntie, grandma, or your mom is in the passenger seat going, this ain't right. I ain't getting out this car. You better turn around. We're going home. You don't know where you at. They start to argue. It only taken one female to get on Columbus's boat, in my opinion, to be like, no, this ain't right. But there wasn't. That woman didn't exist. So Columbus steps off of his boat, claiming that he has made it to America. Again, he believed a shorter route to Asia could be found by sailing west. Finds the Americas instead. Oopsie, greatest mistake in ever. But was Christopher Columbus the first to land in North America? Some people will tell you yes. It's not true. The Vikings were here first. Leif Erikson was here first. But that doesn't fit the narrative. What you'll learn in my history class is that my teachings don't fit the narrative. I'm going to teach how it really happened. Another famous Spanish explorer named Hernando Cortes. Hernando Cortes conquered the Aztec Empire. It took him only 500 men and 16 horses. Mainly because he had smallpox on his side, and the disease that he brought with him wiped out a whole bunch of the Aztec Empire. And Montezuma, who was the leader of the Aztecs at the time, believed that Cortes was a god. Believed he was the sun god. His boat had sailed from the horizons, and Montezuma gave him access to all of the Aztec land in present-day Mexico. And in Tenochtitlan, he's able to find all of these things, which is present-day Mexico City, and he essentially wipes out the Aztecs from the inside out. After he does that, he names himself the governor of Mexico, and he makes Mexico a Catholic country. This is how the age of exploration applies to today. There's a lot of Catholicism still in Mexico today because Cortes, that's the religion that he brought with him, and that's what he set up there. And the Aztec people who survived the initial conquering, who adapted and assimilated to Cortes's way of life, become Catholic, and they pass that on. And then Cortes does what Europeans do, and everywhere that Europe goes got worse. He does what Europeans do, and he takes all the resources, everything that Mexico could use to get wealthy. And he's like, you know what, I like this. And he takes it, and he sends it back to Spain. All the silver, large, huge amounts of silver that were found, gold that was found in Mexico, that would have made Mexico a very, very wealthy country today. Cortes took it and sent it back to Spain so that Spain could make that money off that silver and that gold and those resources. Which brings us to our French explorer, John Cabot, this man right here with the funny looking beard. Who does this? I don't know. I don't know what the point of this triangle in his beard is. But, working with England, John Cabot sails for France and England. They're commissioned to seek out new lands. It becomes the first English or French voyage to North America. They see Spain and Portugal get a jump start on this. They want to get involved. Again, mercantilism. They want to make money. And Cabot sails across. He sails on his way. And in 1497, he finds Newfoundland. Men, we're just not creative, fellas. We're not creative. It's a newfound land. And the best name that he could come up with was Newfoundland. Newfound land. Laziness. Laziness in the male species dated all the way back to 1496, man. 1497. Jacques Cartier, the second French, this one solely for France. He sets off trying to find the Northwest Passage, something that connects old and new world. And he doesn't find it, but he does sail further in. He sails past Newfoundland, which is where Cabot had kind of stopped. And he sails further into Canada. And that's why you see the eastern side of Canada speaks French today, because Cartier kind of goes into those parts of Canada, and that's what he brings back to France. And the French people start following, and they go further and further into Canada or Canadian. But they were able to explore because ship technology got better. Each time they went, the navigation got better. Weapons, armaments, they got better. Caravels or ships got better. And each time they got better, the further they were able to explore and the further they were able to go. Astrolabe, the compass, understanding of wind currents. We get better maps. All of this improves over time. We're going to stop. If you have any questions, let me know. Hope you enjoyed your lesson today. Thank you.